Joining me now is Moj Mahdara, Iranian American activist and investor. Moj, what do you make of the new threats made by President Trump regarding the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, thanks for having me. I think what's important to know right now is that the Iranian people themselves are missing from this conversation with over now 3+ weeks of absolutely no access to communication worldwide, where everyone but themselves is getting to express their thoughts and opinions on this. I think it's very important that this continued war stay focused on military strikes on the regime itself and to hit a power plant that's going to impact the lives of civilians who are already reeling from the massacre of 36,000 people in 47 years of tyranny and dictatorships is not something that's going to invoke and engender democracy in Iran, which is what we're aiming for. And so I think at this point, people are quite hot and frustrated. The Strait of Hormuz is proving to be quite a problematic issue, not just for America, but for the region as a whole. And I think Iran and the Islamic Republic have shown the world now what it is that the American government has been going after, which is this regime, unfortunately for the Iranian people in the region, are frankly suicidal, the cult behavior here where they're willing to blow themselves up in the region for their ideology. I don't think there's any real business strategy behind it for them except to bring the Americans and America to our knees because they know we're about to head into midterms. But I think, unfortunately, we're going to need the support of the Gulf states and regional partners to push for regime change. And my hope is that we get beyond the conversation of war and start talking about transition. The Iranian people deserve to be out of war and push towards a transitional leadership in this moment.
I'm glad that you brought up the plight of the Iranians. They are, of course, impacted by every single decision that gets made. As we've been saying, it changes by the minute. Have you had a chance to speak to folks there within the country? I mean, obviously, you brought up some of the struggles they have with communicating with the outside world, but I just wonder whether or not they have shared a sentiment that they understand that these Israeli and United States strikes, even if they are power plants that put their power in danger for the coming weeks or months, maybe they believe that this is all worth it for the long run, that this is ultimately what's needed in order to get to where they want to be.
Thank you for asking that question. I was able to connect with my family earlier today through various different technologies that we've been using. And what the Iranian people are fearful of is that this regime does not go. They are more afraid of this regime than they are bombs. And what has been problematic is that America is not committing to regime change. And so while I think Iranians have already paid a heavy sacrifice over the past 47 years and continue to do so, what we need the world to do now is be accountable for regime change and a transitional leadership, to continue to be opaque and vague about what the intention here is not helpful to the Iranian people who are fragile and dealing with a lot. I'm sure you understand that their economy has completely imploded. They have no communication. Imagine 92 million people being silenced. I don't know why the whole world is not yelling and screaming about this. I don't know why the Iranian people have had their backs turned on them from human rights organizations, but we need to support them. And I think Iranian people have shown and proven they're willing to be a part of this fight, but we need to commit to be there for them on the other side for transition.
In about an hour from now, I'll be speaking to the advisor for the Crown Prince, the opposition leader that seems to have a lot of support from the people who want to see a regime change and see the people rise up and really transfer out of what they've been seeing in terms of the dictatorship for several decades now. If you had a chance to speak, or I suppose, what questions might you have for the Crown Prince at this time as you move forward to try to ultimately achieve your goals?
Well, I'm incredibly supportive of the Crown Prince. I think he's done an incredible job bringing a coalition, and my advice to him would be to continue to widen that coalition to various different political positions and parties. At this point, any Iranian that wants to push for regime change should be under this tent as long as they're not supportive of other coalition groups like the MEK. We don't want to see any other group come in and lead this transition but the Crown Prince. And so my question for him at this point is we need to do everything to preserve civilian life and security, but we need to change the language and vernacular of this fight right now into regime change and transition, because at this point, the Iranian people need the psychological and emotional support to know that their suffering will be for nothing. We've never had people being bombed who still support the regime, they have no angst and upset against America and Israel. They understand who this regime is better than the American people today know, unfortunately.
All right. Well, thank you for giving a voice to the thousands of people out there that want to see change. Moj Mahdara, we appreciate it.
Millions of us. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. Millions.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.